Oh, my friends, if I were a more humble woman, I might never share my tale of romance with you. Indeed, this is a love story that could even captivate young Amazons as they ride their fierce steeds. And here I stand, braving the onslaught of a genuine man, the very one I have yearned for throughout my life. What can I say? I'm still standing strong in this adventure, as we enjoy frequent rendezvous. And most importantly, they're consistent. Let me introduce myself a bit. My name is Aurora, and I'm 59 years young. Despite my age, I still carry myself as a lady ought to. You see, I inherited my looks from my mother, a well-known actress in our local theater and film scene. Alas, I did not follow in her illustrious footsteps. I lack her artistic flair. However, I didn't fall short in the smarts department. With a dash of ambition, and yes, a sprinkle of short skirts, of course, I graduated from university. Immediately afterward, I merely had to cross the street, and thanks to my parents' influential connections, I landed a rather esteemed role as an instructor at a maritime academy. It was in that very place where, a good dozen years later, I crossed paths with my future husband, Jaden. Back then, I wasn't in any rush. I always believed that a bird in the hand was worth two in the bush, so I took my time, making a careful and deliberate choice of a life partner. Jaden, as he was affectionately called, was one of my pupils. Admittedly, he wasn't the most gifted student, but the lad had undeniable strength and an equally compelling charm for someone his age. This became crystal clear to me one evening when we found ourselves alone in an empty classroom, working to fill in the gaps in his knowledge. Before long, I found myself swept up in his embrace. That moment marked the beginning of our love affair, one that has spanned nearly 3 decades. We tied the knot during his student years, because delaying any longer would have meant risking the chance of ever finding my beloved again in the vast world. I secured Jaden to my side with a sailor's knot long before he was shipped off as the third mate on some old, rusty vessel, navigating the chilly expanses of the barren sea. And so my husband and I lived almost cheek by jowl through many blissful years of marriage. Like any devoted spouse, I waited patiently for my husband to return from his journey, eagerly anticipating the special gift he would bring for me, his cherished wife. Yet what mattered most was my unwavering belief that my beloved was faithful, for he embodied decency and integrity. Meanwhile, I did my best to resist the allure of other men, struggling but ultimately succeeding to keep my focus where it belonged. As a woman with a passionate nature, curbing my instincts posed a significant challenge. So when my sailor finally stood at our doorstep, I jumped on him like a tigress and held him captive in the bedroom for a full 24 hours, ensuring that Jaden could soak up the warmth of my affection to carry him through the languorous months of our impending separation. During one of our intimate moments together, we conceived a beautiful daughter. Mia, at 25, has blossomed into an independent, capable woman. Just a few years back, she exchanged wedding vows and spread her wings, vacating our family abode and leaving me in solitude. By then, I had transitioned from a career in teaching to a full-time homemaker, subsisting on a modest state stipend meant for incidental expenses. A shift prompted by my spouse, who had carved out a life braving the ocean, emerging as a veritable old salt. Nearing 60, a certain restlessness ignited within me, dies. In my younger days, I could withstand months on end without masculine companionship. Yet barely a fortnight had elapsed since Jaden last affirmed his affection. And already my fervent spirit was clamoring for another amorous encore. It was on a rainy summer night that I found myself contemplating infidelity for the very first time. A wave of shame washed over me. Fresh from the shower, I peered into the misty mirror and barely recognized my own reflection, my cheeks flushed with desire. After stretching my toned, yet still taut body, it struck me that I deserved more frequent indulgences. There's nothing inherently disgraceful about having an affair, especially when one cherishes a devoted partner. I adore my husband wholeheartedly and have no intention of leaving him. Interestingly, just the day prior, I had stumbled upon an article in a trendy magazine that suggested if an affair isn't aimed at finding a new life partner, then it doesn't truly count. It's merely a matter of biology, nothing more. Weighing the situation, I came to the conclusion that embarking on a liaison with a suitable and clever younger man could be quite fulfilling. Someone who could match my fiery spirit at least a few times a week. Since I had a tendency to prefer the comforts of home, it seemed wise to seek out a lover through the internet. Brought about by my earlier university years, I had begrudgingly picked up some computer skills. Thanks to my friends, I was aware of the plethora of dating websites out there. Sure, it felt like a gamble. I could very well end up chatting with a total creep masquerading as a perfect family guy. Yet despite the risks, I decided to take a chance on this endeavor. Of course, before diving in, I had to make peace with Jaden and seek his forgiveness for what was to come. I didn't include much personal info in the form, just my age and a fiery message. I wanted to present myself as a married but lonely woman, yearning for a lasting connection with a confident and articulate man. I chose not to share a photo to avoid any possible judgment from acquaintances. Surprisingly, a 50-year-old man quickly caught my attention right after registering on the site. And of course, he didn't have a photo either. But to be fair, Thomas openly confessed that he's married to a much younger woman. He loves his wife passionately, but he can't resist seeking additional excitement elsewhere. Their marriage seems all right, but he craves the touch of a mature, luscious woman in bed, someone experienced in the ways of love. Naturally, I promptly replied to such a gentle message, and in the process, I ceased accepting messages from other candidates. It wouldn't be fair of me to play around and give false hope to other men when I already had a potential partner. Thomas and I embarked on a genuine virtual romance. However, it only lasted a couple of days because I am an impatient woman. After just one passionate exchange of love-filled lines, I was certain that he was the exact type of man I was looking for. Therefore, without any hesitation, I arranged a date with him, declaring him my future lover. We made a pact not to exchange photos. In doing so, we believed that it would heighten the intrigue and adrenaline leading up to the meeting and make the enjoyment of our date otherworldly. True to his word, Thomas assured me that he wasn't like Quasimodo. As for me, I responded like a giddy schoolgirl, stating that I only needed one dwarf like Snow White. In any case, despite the circumstances, I ended up with the keys to my friend's vacant apartment. They had jetted off to the Egyptian desert to soak up a tan. I took this opportunity to create a romantic ambience with a candlelit dinner and eagerly awaited my guest. The appointed hour struck, and a ring resonated through the front door. Filled with impatience, I hurriedly made my way to open it. At first, all I saw was a lovely bouquet of my favorite roses. But suddenly, our gazes met, and our jaws dropped simultaneously, nearly touching the floor. Astonishingly, the man standing before me was none other than my son-in-law, Thomas. Wordlessly, he entered the hallway, as was his usual demeanor, his shy smile adorning his face. Finally, he managed to blurt out, his embarrassment evident, "Hello, Aurora." In that moment, all I could muster in response was a simple, "Well, hello, son-in-law." My mind raced, thoughts zooming through like lightning, as I hastily made the most crucial decision of my life. We locked eyes with intensity for a moment, then united in a passionate embrace, dancing our way into the bedroom. And there we remained until the break of dawn, consumed by our love. Oh, and warned Mia about her choice being too sophisticated for her. Let him be an esteemed professor, a medical genius, and a surgeon by inheritance. But she is just a young, simple nurse. A mature man is naturally attracted to a peaceful and comfortable harbor, where he can find solace next to a wise, and more importantly, attractive woman. The only sensible decision made by me and my son-in-law that day, because why take unnecessary risks in search of excitement when our desires aligned? Ever since then, Thomas has been a regular visitor to his beloved mother-in-law's abode, as a single woman always needs some assistance around the house and more. And I'll always be able to show her my heartfelt gratitude. The affair was a triumph. Not that it counts as adultery with a son-in-law. Moreover, I saved my daughter from an impending catastrophe, as cunning men quickly jump at the opportunity to instigate trouble. And I will not tolerate a divorce in my daughter's family. Once upon a time, there existed a tale of affection between a mother-in-law and her son-in-law. This unconventional bond might be met with judgment or empathy, but the most important thing is the joy it brought to our household. Remarkably, the internet turned out to be an unpredictable realm where unexpected encounters could happen. In this instance, serendipity smiled upon us and created an extraordinary connection. This piece of serendipity shall remain our cherished secret, shared only between my son-in-law and me.